We have Michael Parkhurst on with us on the Soccer Ladder today. We are so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So, a little bit about Mike. He was on the former US men's national team. He won an MLS Cup. You played in Europe for a while, and you are the founder of Beyond Goals Mentoring. I'm sure I missed some things, but we are going to go ahead and cover that as well soon. So, welcome. I say this every episode, but I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate. I started the soccer ladder, or we started the soccer ladder because I'm a soccer mom. Liam's in his first year with Red Bull Academy. It's an amazing journey, but it's so overwhelming. Or it's overwhelming in the sense that there's just so many questions and the journey is so unknown. And whatever we can do to help, share insights and tips, that is amazing. So
I love it.
we're like so excited to have you here and welcome. With that, Lee, you want to go ahead and ask the first question?
Can you tell us about your soccer journey?
Sure. Started when I was probably like everybody else, around 6 or 7. Played soccer up in Rhode Island. Played baseball as well. Baseball was my first love, and I loved the Red Sox. I played baseball up until high school, so played both sports. And yeah, really got serious. I mean, I loved soccer, but I really got serious about it at high school. Went down to IMG and did 4 years at IMG down in Florida before I went to Wake Forest. And I did 3 seasons at Wake Forest and then turned pro. Played at New England Revolution, then over in Europe for 5 years, and then back to MLS for another 6 years with Columbus and Atlanta. Finished up in Atlanta, and yeah, won a few things in between. Played for the national team, went to the Olympics in 2008, but that's a really quick bio of my soccer journey.
That's an incredible journey.
Yeah.
Just stemming off that real quick, what was it like playing in Europe versus over here with the MLS?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a good experience for me, and I'm glad I did it because I could have easily stayed in MLS. I had success early and could have re-signed and stayed in MLS, but I wanted to challenge myself and just experience the world, experience something different. It's one of the beauties of playing soccer is you get to see the world and meet different people. And so really glad that my wife and I decided to take on that challenge and experience that. And one of your former guests, Heath Pierce, played at the same club as I did in Denmark, and that's how kind of my agent knew of that club, and that's why I ended up there. And yeah, really, really enjoyed my time there.
I'm telling you, the one thing we learn, especially from this podcast, is the soccer world is a very small world.
Yeah.
Very small.
And we also had on a guest that I believe that John Valesco.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Johnny was with me up here in Columbus.
Yeah. So very small world. That is so cool. What were some key decisions or sacrifices you made as a youth player that helped you get to the pro level?
Probably the biggest one was deciding to go down to IMG. Um, I, some people look at it as a sacrifice, and some people look at it like as an opportunity, because it's a little bit different down there, right? So when I was down there, I saw many, many kids burn out of soccer because we were playing 6 days a week, every day after school, and it was just a lot. And the social life takes a hit, right? We're living on campus, and it's just not the same experience as a normal high school athlete. And so it was challenging for a lot of people, but for me, I loved it. I loved playing every day, loved being out there and getting good coaching. So, I mean, I didn't look at it so much as a sacrifice, although being away from my family and friends was tough. So, yeah, some sacrifices there for sure. But yeah, as you climb up the ladder, there's more sacrifices needed for sure.
We had Dante Van Zier on last week.
Mhm.
We were all kind of joking because he said, there's a lot of sacrifice and you miss out on like birthday parties and
Yeah.
like just normal things that kids do. Like Liam's 12 now, but he still misses out on, activities and things like that. And he was laughing. He's like, at the time it's so serious. Now I can look back, but and laugh, but there is a lot of sacrifice, so
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and that's tough. I bet I get it for a young man like yourself. Like that's difficult because you want to be with your buddies and hanging out and doing those things. I get it. It's tough. But yeah, it continues on for sure if you continue on playing. I mean, I missed my sister's wedding, my brother-in-law's wedding, a lot of big events, but that was part of the gig and I knew it and I didn't mind it.
Was there a defining moment when you knew you could make it as a pro?
Not really, honestly. I don't think there was one moment. And I was definitely undersized as I mean, I was undersized as a pro, but I was definitely undersized as a younger player. And so I needed every step of the journey to get bigger and stronger and progress and everything. So I was never in a rush to think like, oh, I could go pro at 16 or 17 or 18 like a lot of players these days. And for me it was always, okay, can I get to high school? Can I play at high school? Can I play varsity? Can I be a starter? Can I be a leader? Okay, go to college. Well, number one, can I get into a good D1 school? And okay, now I did. Can I play from day one? And so it was just step by step by step. And then after my sophomore year at college, I had the opportunity to go pro. But I said no thanks. And I said I need another year of development. I need to get better before I go pro. And so at that moment, I knew, okay, I'm gonna go pro. I need another year, and I'll be ready. And so that was the time for me, sophomore year of college, I guess.
since we're on this topic, what are your thoughts on kids signing younger and younger at like 14, 15, 16 years old versus going to college and playing?
Yeah, it's really, really difficult because on one hand, it's very difficult to turn down that opportunity if it's in front of you, and I completely understand that. I also know that if that opportunity is there, that it's great for development, even if you're not with the first team, just to be around and in that environment, it's awesome. But I will say it's not for everyone because as a pro, I could easily tell the players that turned pro out of high school and the players that spent at least 1 year at college. It was very easy to see because the maturity level was much different. And that's on and off the field. So it's a tough one for me. And I mentor players that have done both, but it's really circumstantial. And it's awesome that those opportunities are there. But the downside is now everybody wants to turn pro when they're 15 and 16. And for some players, it's not the right pathway. They need, like me, time to develop and either on the field or off the field or both or physically or mentally. There's so much because if you turn pro too early and things don't go well and you spiral, it can end really quickly. And that's a shame, especially if you had the opportunity to go to college.
From what I gather from all of these interviews too, like injury is a big part of who makes it and who doesn't. So, yeah, if there's an injury young, that's tough.
Yeah, it can be derailing. That's a really unfortunate part of the gig. Have you had any big injuries yet?
No, I think the only one that was kind of big, I tore my what is this called?
Was it the front or
Yeah.
your quad or your
Yeah, it was the
hamstring?
quad. It was the quad. I tore my quad.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
And that's it.
I think the trainers had him just sit out for a
A week,
week.
yeah, a
Yeah,
week.
just 1 week and just kind of jumped back in. You did
Mhm.
some PT and wrapping your leg, right?
Yeah.
For a while. And
Yeah, for about a month.
so let's knock on wood right now.
For sure. I already did.
Okay, thank you. And since we're on this topic, what is the biggest adjustment from college to MLS?
Yeah, I think there's two. So there's one off the field and there's one on the field. So on the field, it's always the speed of play. I remember one of my first practices as a pro. I went in there and we did passing drills every single day. It was one of the first things we did, passing drills. And I felt like guys were shooting it at each other. And that was just the way they did passing drills. And so that was really new to me that they really hit the ball so hard into each other. And it's good because it tests your touch and gets you ready, because in a game you have to hit the ball harder and things, but also the speed of play is just so much faster. Players are faster and stronger and quicker and smarter, so everything happens a little bit faster. So getting up to speed with that. And then off the field, I think it was all of a sudden your day's done at 2 o'clock. So what do you do the rest of the day? Like that was a big challenge, because in college it was just like helter skelter. Your day is so full, and time management is the biggest skill. And then you get turned pro, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I've got 8 hours of free time right now. What do I do with my life? It's a big adjustment.
Oh, I bet. So what did you do? Did you get a hobby?
It's a good question. I think back and I'm like, what did I do? I went to the gym a lot in the afternoons. I did go to class. I went to a local college to try and finish my degree, which I eventually ended up finishing. Um, but yeah, then I think back and I'm like, what else did I do? I don't know. I had a roommate at the time, along with my well now wife. So yeah, we just hung out a lot, I guess.
Oh, to have that free time back, right?
Seriously, what a good problem to have.
How do you help young athletes deal with pressure or setbacks?
Tough question. Yeah, and that's a tough issue, and that's one of the reasons why we started Beyond Goals, is because there's so much pressure, right? As you know, now you're in the soccer academy landscape, right? And so every year it's okay. Not only have I made the team, but now can I stay on the team? And every year it's like, oh my God, am I going to be here next year? And the tryout process, as we know, for everyone knows, is so stressful. And so it's tough dealing with the pressure. It's very difficult. But we do a few different things. One of them that we talk about is pressure is earned. And so, if you've got pressure on you, you've earned it somehow, right? You've obviously earned the ability to be at the academy. And so you've done some really, really good things already in your young journey. So you should be really proud of that. And so, yeah, and we think, who's got the most pressure on themselves? It's always the best players. And so they've earned that pressure with what they've done in their past. So, pressure can be viewed as a negative, but can also be a little bit of a positive. And so we try and spin it a little bit to look at the positives. Setbacks are normal. That's the problem. People have these expectations that they won't experience setbacks. But when we know setbacks will occur, we're able to have a more of a growth mindset and say, okay, how can I get better from this? How can I learn from this? Why is this happening? Right? Because I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. Right? Even small injuries. Okay, maybe I needed time off for some reason, or it lets me learn about my body, or this or that, whatever it is. Focus on school a little bit more for a little bit. So there's always positives. So just really trying to focus on those and understand that it's all part of the journey. Every pro athlete had setbacks.
It's a part of life in general, right?
Totally. Totally.
So, as you know, I work with Greg, and I love working with him. What inspired you and Greg to start Beyond Goals Mentoring?
I think that it was two things. One was when we were playing at Atlanta United, we had our first group of homegrown players, like we just talked about, these 15, 16-year-old players that signed. None of them got a second contract. And that's a huge disappointment. And part of the reason why was not because they weren't good enough. It was because they didn't understand everything that went into being a pro and off the field and maturity. And so we wanted to make sure that we helped athletes understand, hey, it's not just can you kick a soccer ball well, right? It's all these other things about, like what you talked about, Lee, dealing with pressure and confidence and dealing with setbacks. And that was one. And then two, when I started hanging around the academy, that was the first time I realized, wow, the pressure that all these young athletes are under, like we talked about earlier. And I think we started off this conversation with saying how crazy the soccer landscape is. And it's so many questions. And now it's just so many acronyms and leagues. And it's just a mess out there. And so for parents that don't have a clue, where do you turn to other than your coach? So yeah, I think those were the reasons why we started it, and kind of growing it from there.
I absolutely love, and I tell Greg probably 5 times a week how thankful I am that he reached out to me. It was on Instagram, and it was right around the time I was starting this podcast, and I'm like, "You popped into my life at the perfect time." I never even thought of having a mentor, for Liam and this journey, and it's just like wonderful. I love that Liam has Greg and you guys and what you're doing.
Greg is fantastic.
And I saw that you guys posted on your Instagram talking about the pressure of tryouts. And I think it might have been Greg said about mantras. I'm a big believer in like having mantras.
Totally. Positive self-talk, so important.
So just saying things like over and over, and it helps like bring that to reality.
Yeah, it sure does. And just it kind of takes our focus off of something usually negative, right? And so it's not just, oh, saying this silly phrase, right? It's I'm taking my mind away from whatever negative is going on and replacing it with a small little positive. And so if it just takes my focus away from that momentarily, if maybe I can just reset.
Speaking of seeing Instagram, I saw your post as well, which was talking about overtraining. I always ask, the people that come on, like, how often should these kids be training per week? And I loved your outlook on that. So can you share what you shared on Instagram? And we're gonna link Beyond Goals Mentoring in our bio when we post this episode so people can go discover you guys because it's a wealth of information. But what are your thoughts on overtraining?
Yeah, it's a problem in society right now, just with the specialization of sport so young. Talking about injuries and why some injuries occur at a younger age. But yeah, there's this fear that if I'm not getting better every single day or really pushing all the time, that someone is going to get better than me. And I understand that thought because that's all we hear is, hey, if you're not working, your competitor is. And while that can be true, there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking a couple days off or days off here and there, or really limiting yourself here and there, because physically and mentally, I saw so many kids and have seen so many kids burn out, and it's a real issue. And so it's not a one size fits all, because there's some kids that literally love it and can't get enough and want to do it all the time and do extra things, and that's great. And for them, I just worry about injuries. I don't worry about burnout. But for a lot of other players, it's understanding, hey, I don't have to have a side coach and an individual work, and I don't have to have structured this or that, right? I can go out and just goof around. I can play other sports, and other sports can help me get better at soccer, believe it or not. And I could give you examples, but yeah, there's definitely time for space away from soccer. Physically and mentally, it can do us a world of good, especially if things aren't going great, to take a day or two away and come back refreshed.
I'm a big believer in that. We try and let Liam have one day, like one day a week, where he's just a kid, go play with your friends.
It's awesome.
I do think there is pressure and like keeping up with the Joneses. Like there are kids training every day. So I think your dad does it more than I do.
Pushes me to train more.
Yeah, yeah. He'll he'll do the scenario like, well, that kid's training, he's gonna take your spot. So it's good to hear that from people like you.
And not all training is the same. I've got a post coming out soon, and maybe it'll be out before this is, I'm not sure, of what I used to do at my house when I grew up. And it was just literally, I had a step into my kitchen and I had like a cement wall outside, and I would just kick the ball, pass it back and forth, pass it back and forth, pass it back and forth, like for an hour, 2 hours. And I'd never viewed it like, oh, I'm working on my soccer skills. For me, I was just bored and I liked kicking a soccer ball. And there was just nothing else to do. I didn't have a phone to stare at. So
Different day and age.
for sure. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, so serious all the time when you're doing extra work. You can go out and goof around with the soccer ball and juggle and, mess around, and you're still getting better.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. What lessons from your playing career do you think are most important for young players today?
It's great to play multiple positions. And I think that it's difficult because we don't always control it, right? We play where the coach tells us to play. But I have a good example of when I went to Denmark, I was a center back. I had played center back basically from 12 years old up. And when I went to Denmark, I was kind of in and out of the lineup. They asked me to play right back. And I kind of, if I'm being honest, didn't give it my all because I wanted to prove myself at center back. So I didn't do well at right back. They put me back at center back, I was in and out of the lineup. Fast forward like 6, 8 months. We got a new coach. He asked me to play right back. And I said, you know what? I'll do it. I did it and I loved it. And I had great success. It brought me back to the national team. That's where I had the most games of my national team career. Almost made the World Cup team playing as an outside back, played in Champions League over in Europe as an outside back. And so when I look back, I was like, man, what a waste of 6 months, 8 months. I was so silly of myself. So I always encourage kids to play multiple positions because you never know as you go up the ladder where you're going to play. Like Greg, I don't know if Greg's told you, but he was a number 10 most of his youth career. And then he turned pro and the coach said, hey, play left back. Right. And now then he turned into an all-star and a national team player as left back. So you just never know. It's so common. And I think that people are afraid that, well, if I'm pretty good at multiple positions and not the best at one, that it's a downside. And it's not. Coaches like to have the versatility.
Versatility. Yeah. I love that.
What has been, 2 questions, you can answer them both together. What's been the toughest part of this gig, and what have you learned the most about anything doing this, right? Because I think it's awesome that you do this, and that you're not just focused on playing soccer, but now you've got this side gig with your mom and doing all these interviews. It must be really cool.
Is it gig about soccer or this podcast?
No, about just life, and what have you learned the most about, preparation or having a quote unquote job or something a hobby that you like, or what's been the toughest part? Is it getting ready for the interviews? Is it the questions?
Making time for other things to do.
Ooh, good. Love that.
Like homework. After school, I usually go upstairs and just play with my friends, and then I go practice, and then I have to do my homework afterwards.
Time management.
Which I should do.
Time management. Yeah. And also, so we do this podcast on Fridays, not every Friday, but and basically it's due to Liam's, practice schedule, the studio time opening, but Fridays are his one day that he gets to hang out with his friends. So
straight from here.
So there are times we're giving up friend time to do podcast job time.
The grind is real.
The grind is real at 12 years old.
I think it's really cool what you got going on here, and I'm sure it's been a lot of fun, and you're learning a lot, and you get to talk to some really cool athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can say we feel grateful and blessed to be doing this. How do you feel, Lee?
Yeah, I guess grateful and blessed. Yeah.
What is your advice for the parents that are on this journey?
I wish I could mentor more parents, because my kids don't play soccer, and I do not miss the youth soccer sideline. My son did play for a bunch of years, and it's a toxic place. It can be a toxic place, and I don't miss it. And so I wish that they would have more of a growth mindset, most of these parents, and understand that. I think if they understood that we can learn a lot from losses and difficult situations, then they wouldn't be so crazy on the sideline every game, coaching, yelling, trying to get their kid motivated to go win this game. Because if they don't win and they do poorly, they might actually learn something from this game, and they might remember it and take it with them. And so, that would be my biggest point of trying to help with the sideline behavior, is to help them understand you're doing a disservice to the athletes, to your kids, long-term growth. And not only that, but I specifically remember the parents of my teammates when I was 8, 9, 10 years old who were nuts on the sideline. So if I can remember that, it had a lasting impression.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some parents that stand out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We play a lot of the same teams now for a couple of years. I mean, you always know like what team is going to have the crazy parent.
Oh yeah.
But I think the other thing that is difficult for parents is just the motivation aspect, right? How much do we push our child versus let them find their own groove, right? And so, yeah, they need a little nudge every now and then, no doubt about it, right? Some reminders, some little talks here and there. But in the end, if they're not motivated themselves, it's not going to last. If I want it more than my own son, that's a problem. So, I think that here and there, to give them a little kick in the butt, a little help when they need it, yeah, that's what we're there for as parents. But it's not our journey, it's their journey, and they have to lead it, and we can support.
Yeah, same
I,
too.
I love that. And I so agree. I think we're hitting that age or, the time in his career where it's changing from us scheduling all of these practices to like
Me. Yeah.
self motivation and Liam wanting it for himself.
Yeah, which is a great place to be as the parent, right? Like, it's like, oof.
Yeah. Like, okay. Exactly.
You take a little bit of this on.
This has been wonderful. I wish we had more time to sit
Mhm.
and spend with you, but I love what you guys are doing with Beyond Goals mentoring. It's just so awesome. We're going to link it because I feel like everyone should have this. I can only speak from an academy point of view, but in every sport, at every level, mentoring is just so helpful for Liam and for the parents. I sit and I like listen and I learn from it as well.
That's great. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Liam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. Greg's awesome too. We hope you have a wonderful day. We hope to meet you one day in person.
Likewise. No. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it, and great questions, and yeah, great conversation.
Okay, well, you have a good one and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.